It's a long story. I lost a bet. I just had this happen to the shirt I picked today, so it's the only. I lost a bet with the guy last year or a couple of years ago, so I have an OU shirt. So forgot Norman. So
Yeah, my parents would be proud.
there you go. Did you not grow up a Sooners fan?
I grew up a diehard Sooners fan.
I was gonna say
Sooner born, sooner bred. When I die, I'd be sooner dead. And then I changed.
You still know all the words of Boomer?
Boomer Sooner? I know Boomer Sooner repeated over and over. That's about all I know. I can sing the song Oklahoma. Guarantee that.
We don't need that now. So.
Okay, it's 11 o'clock, and I don't have anybody in the waiting room right now, so let's get started here in just a few minutes. Let's wait about 15 seconds and give everybody a chance to pin their video if they wish, and then we'll get started. Okay, let's go ahead and start.
Hey, Coach, with the schedule now being released, would you prefer that the Monday, Thursday happen the way it does so you can just get that out of the way?
I like the Thursday night game early in the season. I really do. Your players are still relatively healthy at that point, so it's a quick turnaround. And so it's I won't complain about that. I think it's good the way that that's sorted out.
It seems like the league is confident that they're going to get most of the regular season games in. I know they didn't give anybody a bye the first 4 weeks. Weeks 3 and 4 can be pushed to the end of the They have some options, I guess, but overall, does it feel like they've targeting 16 games and they're going to be able to get it done?
That's how we have to operate as coaching staff, is that this thing's going to go as normal and we'll just react to whatever anybody tells us to do. But the only way that I know how to prepare is to prepare for a normal training camp, a normal regular season. And then, again, we're flexible here. We'll adjust to whatever they tell us to do. But, I think that they laid out the schedule as they did, and we'll just react accordingly.
Zach, is AJ participating in virtual workouts?
It's all strictly voluntary right now, so I'm not going to get into who's there and who's not. But I've been encouraged by the group that we see every single day. There's been great participation.
So in that case, you won't also, if Joe's participating virtual, that's something you won't comment on as well?
I won't comment on that one either.
So Jeff Hobson did a story about AJ Green saying that I'll go wherever Joe Burrow wants me to go to throw the football, and he's the leader, he's the quarterback. We'll go where he dictates. That's a positive sign, obviously.
Well, that's just the type of character we got in our building. Is guys want to work, they want to make it work. There's a lot of things that they have to do on their own time right now during this period that we can't really control. So that's why it's important to have strong leadership on the team. And AJ is an outstanding leader for us. We certainly think that Joe's got a bright future as well. And so we just know that we're built right now of the right men that are willing to do whatever it takes to get it done.
Coach, is there a section in the schedule that really jumps out at you? And if so, why?
Yeah, week 1, Chargers. It's a great football team. It's really the only game I've paid much attention to up to this point. The things that you do look for, okay, where are we starting? How are we ending? You'd like to do them both at home. And that's really the first thing I looked at is, okay, we open up at home. That's great. We end at home. That's great. Really only care about the first opponent. I know that the players, I think the first thing they look at is what are the primetime games. So I'm sure that they're pretty fired up to see 2 divisional games, one on the road and one at home. But we don't get too caught up in that right now. It's just I know what kind of an opponent the Chargers are. Practiced against them several times 2 years ago. Played against them. It's a really good team, really well coached. They got a lot of good veteran players on that team. They can really rush the passer, and they got some great receivers as well. So that'll be a tough test for us, and that's all I can worry about right now.
When you guys looked at Herbert at the Senior Bowl, did you guys feel like he could be someone who could step in and start for a team right away?
Absolutely. Yep. He's smart as they come. Was really impressive, especially as that week went at the Senior Bowl, how quickly he took command of the offense and started to bring the players around him up to speed. That's something we really challenged those quarterbacks to do early in the week. As they were struggling, hearing a new system for the first time, new cadence, all that stuff, I thought he adjusted really well. And by Friday, the day before the game, he had full command of that thing and was getting guys lined up and really had authority over it. So you could certainly see that he'd be able to come in and be able to compete for a job right away.
Zach, you guys end up hosting all three of your divisional matchups the second time around. Is that something you prefer? Does it matter? I know you don't get to make the schedule, but is it nice to have your division opponents come to your place for the second meeting?
It really, you could argue either way. I think if it'd been the other way, I'd be saying how happy I am that we get to start with all three divisional games at home. And so I really don't think of it too much that way. I did assume it would break down in some way, shape, or form. How it did. You're going to knock out one of your teams early, and that happens to be Cleveland. And then Pittsburgh was there in the later half of the year. We don't see them until after the bye, and then Baltimore was sandwiched on both sides of the bye. So that wasn't that surprising to see it fall that way.
Coach, were you expecting any nationally televised games having the number one overall pick, or was this still something you just were uncertain about?
I assumed that there would be. There's a lot of positive buzz around our team right now, and that's good for the fans to get caught up in and all that stuff. And usually with that comes some primetime games. But again, it's really hard for me to look beyond the first week of the season because I know we really got to work it out for us there.
Seems like the beginning of the season, you open at home, then you play 4 out of 5 on the road. Then to finish the season, you play 3 out of 4 at home, and 2 of the last 3 are division matchups. So, it's a challenge, I guess, travel in the beginning, but at the end, in the hunt, finishing at home like you are, is that a big plus?
It can be, if we take care of business the way that we need to. But the key is just being consistent through all 16 games. If we're going to have this type of season that we say we're going to work towards, then you're going to have to win road games and home games, however they shake out, and not make excuses. And some of the best teams I've been on have been road warriors, and really taking care of business on the road. And so it's, again, I think it's shaking out just fine for us. Our guys got to be willing to get up to the task. Fortunately, we don't have any long travel. We're not going to any West Coast games. That is nice to not have to deal with some of that stuff. But, just excited that it's finally here and we get a chance to make our plans.
Zach, how would you describe the virtual workouts as they're going with the team right now, and have you guys gotten a feel for them, and what's the benefit or drawbacks of all that?
I think that we really have gotten a feel for it. It helped that we were doing all the scouting calls, really for the 2 months leading up to it. We've got a bunch of really tech savvy coaches that have been able to incorporate a lot of fun tools to help these guys learn. I think the feedback from the players has been outstanding. I mean, it's great for me because instead of physically having to walk into each meeting and open a door and kind of make a scene and walk in there, I'm able to just jump in, and watch every meeting as they happen. I kind of just disappear and then I reappear in somebody else's meeting. And the feedback that those guys have given the coaches has been outstanding. We're really getting a lot accomplished. We're going to maximize all this time that they give us. We got a chance to utilize the time with the rookies last weekend. We got 3 days with the rookies. So we got a chance to bring them up to speed on the things that they missed the week before with the veterans. And now we get a chance on Monday. We're done with the players this week. We finished yesterday. Now on Monday, we get a chance to get the whole group together and start to introduce these rookies. And again, the challenge that we're trying to be creative in solving is, if our rookies aren't able to see the veterans until May 18th or June 1st or training camp, we got to find a way to get our veteran leaders in front of our rookies. And so the first time they see them isn't weeks or months down the road. So that's something we've really challenged our staff with, and they've been creative with the responses.
Zach, Joe Burrow mentioned on the Pardon My Take podcast that some of the assistant coaches are giving T. Higgins a hard time about losing the national championship game to Joe. Is that something you've been privy to? Some assistant coaches sort of getting that competitive juices going for your guys?
Well, I'll tell you exactly how that shapes out. So we start these meetings at we set a time to start them, and then we open up the Zoom, about 10 minutes before, so that the players can try to get a locker room feel to it a little bit, and start to build that camaraderie. The coaches typically shut off their Zooms, and mute their volume so the players can kind of have that floor. Well, your first day of all the rookies, they don't know each other. And so you flip on that Zoom and it's just a bunch of guys silent, all muted for the 10 minutes leading up to the team meeting. So yeah, some of our coaches with some bigger personalities may have jumped in there and tried to stir the boat a little bit, stir the pot, and get those guys riled up and see kind of what they're made of. And so that was pretty entertaining to watch. Yeah, that may or may not be true there, Jed.
Zach, you kind of talked about these meetings, and you said the veterans and rookies are going to get to mingle here soon. I know it's early on, and I know Joe Burrow was just a rookie to a lot of the veterans, but do you expect Joe Burrow sooner than later, as the presumed starting quarterback, to have a bigger voice in some of these meetings and to possibly kind of just lead a little bit in some ways as the quarterback right now?
Well, I think you, as any rookie, you got to earn that through the way that you work. And so when guys see how you approach your business, they've certainly heard about him, seen what he did at LSU, but you still have to show up and earn that through work. And sometimes it's not necessarily opening your mouth and trying to lead that way. It's just leading through doing what you're supposed to do and accomplishing that. And then some guys quicker than others can then start to be more of a vocal leader and get guys going. And so again, we drafted a bunch of players that we expect to work the right way and then be respected when they do start to talk.
Coach, where do you guys stand on the veteran quarterback? I know it's been talked about, you guys started talking about it at the combine, but as this thing starts to go on, is there any more of a different feel about maybe getting a veteran in there? And is there anybody out there that, that would interest you?
Oh, we're set. We got 3 young guys that we really look forward to investing a lot of reps in. We think that they've got bright futures. And so we feel really good about where we're at right now.
Coach, back in the day, there were guys that they're different learners. Some guys, could learn off the grease board. Other guys had to be on the field and actually doing and walking through it before they actually learned it. Some guys could take it off of 16 millimeter film back then and could transfer and translate it in their mind. Is that an issue? I mean, everybody has these different learning patterns. When you're on Zoom, I mean, do you feel like everybody's not going to comprehend it all at the same rate, I guess is my question.
It's very similar to being physically in the meeting. Take Darren Simmons' meeting, for example. He's got 20, 25 guys popped up there on the screen. And again, he shows the written things about what we're about as a special teams unit in each of the phases. He shows the film. It's very crisp. Travis Bramer and those guys have really done, Jake Kaiser, they've done a great job of helping the coaches maximize the performance of the video so that it's very clear for the players, because that can sometimes be an issue. And so our guys, it's like they're sitting right there in the auditorium listening to Darren and Colt present. So they can clearly see what he's written. They can clearly see the video. They can ask questions. Guys have learned that they got to speak loudly, quickly if they have a question, so that oftentimes as a presenter, you can only see your screen. And so guys, over these 2 weeks, I've really gotten a feel for, hey, go ahead and stop the coach. It's not in a meeting. You can't raise your hand. You can't see you that well. So be vocal and speak up and ask. And guys have done a great job of that. So we haven't missed a beat there. The guys are doing a great job. And again, the coaches are being really creative with how they quiz these guys and how they test their recall with, different things online with Kahoot or what do we use? Somebody had a Jeopardy parody thing. Our DB coaches did a great job incorporating the DBs into this Jeopardy deal that they did. And so it's been really fun to watch our guys respond to that. They've been really engaged, and I know that they're getting a lot out of it.
Coach, has there been any aspect of this that has proven more valuable than you thought it would originally?
Well, I think it's interesting. The guys are comfortable. We've made it clear we don't want guys in cars, on the Zoom. It's hard to take notes when you're doing things like that. So the guys have done a great job. They're all comfortable. They pick their favorite chair. They pick their favorite couch, as opposed to sitting in a meeting room with a stiff chair maybe. So you can just tell, and you can take a 5-minute break and everybody doesn't have to get up and leave the room. They just shut their screen off and they can check their cell phone and get a bite to eat, whatever it is. So part of that's just been different. It's been unique. It'll probably never happen again. So we're just making the most of it. But I think it's been really efficient, and it is unfortunate that you don't get the physical reps on the field. That is something that every team would like to have, but no teams have it. So we're just going to make the most of this virtual period.
Coach, how long would it take if you put in all this work in May and June? How long do you think it would take? Do you need a regular? Would you need a regular length of training camp, or given all the video stuff, could you have a short training camp and still get still be where you
Yeah, I don't think you're ever going to replace the physical reps, and it's one of the things that you usually get to do in the off season is you install, and then you get to go on the field and physically do it and see how quickly your players can process that information, on a 40-second play clock. And so you do miss that opportunity, and training camp will afford you that opportunity to really see, particularly some of the new guys, how quickly they take in the information. And again, we're going to take every practice they'll give us. We're all going to be on an even playing field, but of course, if they told us we could practice tomorrow and we'd be safe in doing it, I would do that in a heartbeat, just because I'd like to maximize our reps with our newer guys as quickly as possible. And even our veteran guys, the guys that played last year, they get a chance now to build on the foundation they set last year, and they're going to play faster. They're going to react faster. They have a better understanding of what we're asking them to do. And so, the whole team is going to use every single practice that they'll give us.
Can you see with what's going on here virtually with all that you're talking about with the information technology stuff and collective bargaining agreement? There'll still, like you said, there'll still be, OTAs and that sort of thing for physical installation, but the numbers of them may change because the Players Association says, boy, that really worked well, during this coronavirus. Let's do some things virtually and maybe a little bit less, having the players on the field. And do you see any changes that way as a result of the success of some of this?
10 years from now in the next CBA? I don't know quite what it'll look like in the future. You talk about next spring, if hopefully this thing is minimized and everyone's safe and can go back to work at some point. And so then what does next spring look like? I just think now everyone's seen that you can be flexible, and we now have these tools that are disposable that everybody feels very comfortable with. We don't know when we're going to have to use them again in the future, but if we do, I don't think everyone's going to be alarmed by it, and we'll know how to operate, and we'll know how to get good work done. So I don't know yet in the future how this virtual stuff will come into play, but I would imagine it will in some aspects, and it'll just be good for us.
Zach,
even though these meetings have been voluntary, are you satisfied with the overall attendance, and have the players been very engaged in these meetings as well?
Yeah, I have. I think we've had great response. I think that the players have been very engaged, as much as I could have hoped. And again, we break up a lot into smaller meeting groups just because I think the bigger numbers you have all facing one screen, we try to keep our team meetings very brief, because I do understand what it's like if I'm the one watching a speaker for 40 minutes at a time. It's easy to get distracted. So we do our best to break them into smaller groups. That way we have more personal contact there with the position coaches and receiver coaches. We film a lot of things that we put on the iPad, so that it's a point of reference for them to see the coordinators and myself present. So we've used a lot of different creative ways to connect with these guys and make sure they're getting all the information. Because as Dave said, some of them learn a little bit differently. Some of them want to watch more tape as opposed to just seeing something written on an install or a picture. And so we try to give them every option available.
Zach, when's the last time you had you had a really good conversation with AJ and kind of y'all were able to kind of discuss about where y'all were at since the end of last season?
I'd stay in touch with all those guys and everybody on the team, whether they got a contract situation or not. And so AJ and I are in a good spot. He's a great guy. So we've had good contact.
Is that an extra challenge maybe when a guy's in the middle of a contract dispute and trying to make sure that you have to maybe nurture that relationship in a different kind of way, knowing that there is a little bit of friction between both sides?
Well, I think that's the starting point from last year when our staff came in. We want to build a relationship with every player so that when any situation arises, contract, whatever, something that happens during a game, that there's a relationship that's been built there, and there's a clear understanding that we care about each other and we want what's best, as opposed to having no relationship at all and something comes up and it's icy. And of course, that's not how we've operated with any of our players. And so we're in a good place with all of them. We've built great relationships with these guys. They know where we come from. We know where they come from. So, confident that everything will work out just great.
I know he's not a Bengal anymore, but now he's a Dallas Cowboy. Were you, what's your reaction to Andy signing with the Dallas Cowboys? Did you see that one coming?
I try not to make any predictions on what would happen. I'm really excited for them. I know that being in Dallas, they spend a lot of time there. When they're not in Cincinnati, I'd say they spend all their time in Dallas. So for it to work out, especially with the COVID situation, They've been down there in Texas. They've got family and friends there. It is a great opportunity for him with a great organization. So, I am happy for how it shook out for him, and I'm sure that he and JJ are very happy down there as well.
Zach,
How
who's
encouraging
cutting
is
your
it
hair right now?
That AJ has reached out to.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To Joe.
Go ahead, James.
Sorry.
Go ahead, James. Sorry.
Go ahead, James.
Coach, how encouraging is it that AJ has reached out to Joe about working out and getting some of those physical reps done, even if they have to do it on their own this offseason?
That's great. And again, AJ is just a great representative of what we're trying to build here in terms of the leaders taking these young guys under their wings to an extent, reaching out to them, making them a part of this organization, making them feel comfortable. And obviously AJ's been here a long time, and everyone thinks very highly of him. So for him to take the lead there is great to hear. I expect nothing less. That's been everything I've been around AJ the last year and a half. That just speaks to who he is.
Zach, my
another
question,
wide receiver. Go ahead, Jeremy. Go ahead.
Okay, my question is much less pressing. I don't know if you heard what I said. I was just curious.
I heard something about a haircut.
Who's cutting your hair right now?
It's not good. Nobody. What the salon's open back May 16th or something, right? I wouldn't say that I go to a salon necessarily. I've usually been like a $10 haircut guy, but since I've been here, I do hit up Salzano's down there downtown. He's been awesome. So I do very much look forward to getting back in there when.
I didn't know if the wife was stepping in and maybe helping out. Okay.
No, she has. We have some really dark haircut days going back to college, her and I. So I try not to involve her as much as I can, but she steps in when she needs to in case of emergency.
What happened back in the day with it? What went wrong?
I'll let her tell that story if you ever get her one-on-one. It was a late night. I felt like I needed a buzz cut. It just didn't go well. How you screw up a buzz cut, I'll never know, but she did it.
Zach, what's your stance on preseason games? Do you feel like you at least need one of those leading up to the season? Do you get a sense that the NFL as a whole would be willing to forego the preseason entirely to start the season on time? Where does the preseason stand?
They have made no comment on that right now. And so again, we're going to operate that we have 4. I'd like to have 4. We have a lot of work to do from last season. And so again, that to me is those live reps that we want and we need, and we'll take them. So I certainly am hopeful that it'll be 4 games. They haven't made any comment about what to expect. So again, if we get 4, that'll be great. That way our guys can again continue to grow from last season. We need all those reps.
Hey guys, let's leave this or let's keep this to just a few more questions here. We're hitting the 22-minute mark. Thank you. Zach,
there's no international games for obvious reasons. What about if there is a training camp and preseason games, are up in the air? That means there's no teams getting together and scrimmaging against each other. All those things would be off limits as well, obviously.
I don't know that. I haven't heard that. A lot of times that's arranged back in February.
Right.
As of right now, we're not arranged to practice with any teams. But sometimes when the schedule comes out, you do start to reach out to some of those coaches and see if something fits for them. But I haven't heard anything in regards to not being able to practice with somebody else.
Zach, every year around the time of the schedule release, there's a lot of talk about strength of schedule, who's got the easy schedules, who's got the tough ones. Is there validity to that, or how much validity is there to that?
No, because you would imagine teams look at us and say, all right, that's a win. That's great, because we feel like we've made great improvements. We expect to be a completely different team this time around. And a lot of people that are in a position feel the same way about their organization. So I've been around this league enough to know. I remember as a first-year coach playing a team that I didn't think was very good, and we were going to kill them, and they just destroyed us. And then the other way around, you think, oh, this team's a great Super Bowl team. We're going to have a work cut out, and you handle them pretty easily. So I stopped making those early July predictions about 8, 9, 10 years ago. And I know that you got to bring your A game every week, because every team is ready to go, and they got talented coaches and players, and teams can flip on a dime from year to year. They can be a totally different team. So I don't spend too much time worrying about that.
Zach, your schedule features a lot of the top rushing teams in the NFL, not only the teams in your division, but you got the Cowboys, you have the Giants, you have the Titans. How big of an emphasis is it this year to improve your run defense, considering you guys were ranked last in NFL run defense?
Yeah, that's why we spent a good part of the offseason, adding pieces to that puzzle over there. And we have to improve our tackling, number one. That was, forget about the scheme for a second, just start with the fundamentals. We got to be better tacklers. We were definitely at the bottom half of the league there in terms of missed tackles, and that just provides more opportunities for those teams. That's another 3, 5, 10 yards that they tack onto those runs, and so we got to be better there. But again, we felt like our defense really tightened down there that last half of the season, started to make improvement. We expect that to carry over into the preseason. But again, you can look at every team and say, hey, they got a great passing offense or rushing offense or great defense. Every team in this league does a great job hanging their hat on something. So we got to work it out for us in all 16 games.
A couple more questions, please.
With preseason games in jeopardy, there's many elements to evaluate your players. How important is a preseason game as opposed to watching them every day in practice? I mean, how big of a tool is a preseason game in your evaluation? How much could it hurt, this rookie class not having all these preseason games potentially?
Yeah, well, it's just different when the lights come on, and you get a chance then to see them respond against a different scheme, maybe that it's different than what you see in practice, and how quickly they play well under those bright lights. And so certainly for the rookies, they need those 4 games. They need as many as you're going to give them. And again, I'm hopeful that works out, but right now that's an unknown.
Hey, Zach, with that stretch of 4 out of 5 games on the road coming almost right off the jump, and the real possibility of no fans in the stands, would you see that as a small perk for a rookie quarterback, or would that be a significant advantage?
It would be interesting. I think that it's always fun going and playing in road environments where people hate you and it's loud. But again, if all of a sudden you're taking that away from some teams or that's an advantage, then so be it. That's not the worst thing in the world. But so I think it's kind of a double-edged sword there. We enjoy going on the road and playing in hostile environments. But again, if you go on the road and there weren't fans there in the building, then obviously you can communicate a lot better and use all your tools that way. So we'll just see how it plays out.
Okay, Zach, I can't thank you enough for your time, and everyone will talk